dahulu saya ucap terima kasih kepada semua yang hadir for this PC. And this PC is khusus berkenaan dengan Parti Pejuang. Kerana ramai yang tak faham kenapa kita tubuh Parti Pejuang, tetapi kita ingin jelaskan sebab-sebabnya. Yang pertamanya, kita tak suka terlalu banyak parti politik, khususnya di kalangan orang Melayu. Ada banyak parti politik bermakna di electorate, the voters berpecah dan masing-masing dapat cuma sebilangan yang kecil saja, tak cukup untuk nak dapat majority. But here we are faced with this problem. Kita tubuh Parti Bersatu khusus untuk melawan dan menjatuhkan kerajaan kleptokrat Datuk Seri Najib. Tetapi Parti Bersatu ini telah di-hijack oleh satu puak dalam parti guna untuk hidup semula Najib. Sekarang ini kita dapati Datuk Seri Najib aktif, bebas, walaupun didapati bersalah, tetapi bebas dan berkempen untuk Parti Bersatu sendiri. Walaupun tak ada Parti Bersatu yang bertanding, tapi kita lihat Parti Bersatu sekarang ini memberi nyawa baru kepada Datuk Seri Najib. Dan kita pula ahli Bersatu yang lama yang tidak bersetuju dengan Muhyiddin, kita harap kita kekal dalam Bersatu. Tetapi sekarang ini kita sudah di-expel from Bersatu, sehingga kita tidak ada parti lagi. Berita, kita tak boleh nak buat apa-apa kerana tak ada parti. Sebab itulah kita buat keputusan untuk menubuhkan satu parti yang mana tujuannya sama dengan bersatu di waktu, bersatu di tubuh. Iaitu kita akan lawan corruption, kita akan lawan abuse of power by the government. Kerana pada mulanya, in the first 3 months of the new government, kita tak banyak kritik kerajaan. Nak tengok apa yang nak dilakukan oleh kerajaan. Tetapi setelah 3-4 bulan lepas, kita dapati bahawa kerajaan ini sama dengan kerajaan Najib, using money politics, using government power to suppress people, dan politically also trying to eliminate any opposition to the government. This is what is happening. That is why after about 3 months of observation, we find that it is necessary that this government's wrong behavior mesti ditegur. Dan effectively kita boleh tegur kalau kita ada parti. Sebab itulah kita tubuh Pejuang. Dia punya matlamat dia punya purpose is the same as Bersatu. Tetapi kita tak boleh jadi ahli Bersatu kerana Bersatu sekarang ini sudah di-hijack, dan kita buat parti baru ini dengan tujuan yang sama, kerana kita dapati bahawa perjuangan untuk lawan korupsi, lawan money politics, lawan abuse of government power and all that masih diperlukan. Itulah sebabnya yang kita tubuh Parti Pejuang. Secondly, kenapa kita tubuh Parti Pejuang Melayu? Pasal apa tak buka multiracial? Kerana Bersatu pun sekarang ni dah jadi multiracial. Pendapat kita ialah orang Melayu di Malaysia ini mempunyai lebih banyak masalah berbanding dengan kaum-kaum yang lain. Terlalu banyak masalah, dan solution yang boleh apply kepada semua kaum, tidak berkesan kepada orang Melayu. Ini kita lihat pada masa kita perkenalkan dasar ekonomi baru umpamanya. Walaupun kita cuba tolong orang Melayu, tapi orang lain yang dapat manfaat. Dan kita ingin tentukan solution untuk orang Melayu ini dibuat oleh orang Melayu yang faham tentang masalah orang Melayu. Orang Melayu ini mempunyai budaya dia yang berlainan daripada yang lain. Kalau kita apply the same solution that can be applied to the whole of Malaysia, to all Malaysians, it will not be effective with the Malays. So that is why we feel that focus on Malay is very important. So this party is a Malay party. Di masa yang sama saya ingin jelaskan di sini bukan untuk nak berperang dengan orang bukan Melayu, tidak. Kerana kita tahu kalau ada pilihan raya, kita orang Melayu saja tak boleh dapat kemenangan. Kita juga nak friendly with non-Malays. Tetapi kita tengoklah yang mana-mana yang kita boleh sokong, kita akan sokong. Apa yang baik bagi non-Malays akan kita sokong. We are not fighting against non-Malays. We are focusing on the problems faced by the Malays and only able to be corrected by Malays. I know this personally because I've been involved with dasar ekonomi baru over a long period of time. I did a lot to help the Malays, but mostly it was a failure. Although we must admit that the dasar ekonomi baru was successful in terms of producing better educated Malays who are professionals now. Dasar ekonomi baru, for example, was able to increase the number of Malay doctors, which made up only 2% of all the doctor population in Malaysia. Before that, now it is about 40%. So because of the special concentration, to give them an opportunity. Because in the past, tanpa dasar ekonomi baru, kita bagi kepada the best student. Dapat scholarship, pergi belajar jadi doktor. But now we give also to the number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And this has proven that they are capable. They are capable of studying medicine, becoming a doctor, and are trusted as doctors. I myself trust them enough to allow them to belang saya punya dada 2 kali. If I find that these Malay doctors are incompetent, I wouldn't do that. But they have the capacity. The only thing that academically they didn't do so well. So that is what I mean by focusing on the Malays by people who are representing the Malays for special operation that will enable them to benefit from government or policies. Kalau tidak, kalau kita buat general policy for all the country, for all Malaysians, the chances are that the Malays will not decide. I was born 95 years ago, and during Libuka, jangan tunjuk pula kata saya tak pakai emas. I was born 95 years ago, and I cannot say that the moment I was born, I already observed things. But in my teens, when I was a teenager, I already observed the thing. I find that, of course, poor Malays, poor Chinese, poor Indians. But over the years, saya dapati bahawa the poor Malays improve a little, but is not able to overcome their poverty. But the poor Chinese, they have their own culture. You know, Chinese are very good in business. The whole world has to admit them. You see now Even America is frightened of China because the Chinese capacity to acquire knowledge, to use the knowledge for their own well-being is far higher than most other people. I am quite sure that if we allow Britain, for example, allow just about 30 million Chinese to migrate to England, I think the British people will disappear. They will be like the Malays of Malaysia. You see, because our cultures are different. We have to admit that our cultures are different. Malays are easily satisfied. We have this man who was selling good bihun mee, very popular. When we tell him, why don't you move into the proper shop? Di situ boleh besar lagi. Cukup lah banyak ni dah. Kita dah dapat banyak ni, cukup lah ikut nak makan, minum dah cukup. Dan kita dah dapat kerja haji dah. Semua boleh buat, nak tambah-tambah lagi buat apa? So you don't find Malays starting franchise system. But you can see di Sarawak punya hamburger company,
Very Brown.
Very Brown. They have that culture that they want to grow big, but Malays don't want to grow big. Only very few of them have actually taken up the challenge and have grown big, but their numbers are very small. So we want this country to have people who share the wealth of this country fairly, not equally, fairly. So this means that we cannot allow this disparity between Malays, Chinese and Indians to grow too much. Of course, we can say, forget about Malay, Chinese and Indians. We can say, but the Malays feel like that, the Chinese feel like that, the Indians feel like that. We still identify ourselves by our race. So when you see this disparity getting bigger and bigger, you will one day be threatened with racial conflicts and even violence. That is something that I fear, because as you know, as within rich and poor, there will be conflict, even if it is a single race. The reason for socialism and communism is because of the distance, the disparity in wealth between the rich and the poor. Itu same race. Tambah kalau dia ada implication of difference in races, the disparity will create tension and even envy and things like that, which may explode. You see, please remember that when we started dasar ekonomi baru, pada masa itu kita punya estimate is that Malays own 2% of the wealth. The Chinese own 20-something% of the wealth. The Europeans, foreigners own almost 60% of the wealth. Now, if you have 2% of the wealth, and the growth is 100%, from 2 it goes to 4. But if you have 20% of the wealth, and the growth is also 100%, it is 20 to 40. So between 40 and 4, the disparity is bigger. So we need to give some handicap to the Malays to catch up with the other races. And I've talked to many people, rich people, non-Malays. They believe that it is good. They believe that they want stability. They don't want anything that can contribute to tension and conflict between races. So that is why we feel that focus for us, for our party, must be on the Malays. So we form a Malay party. The reason for this is very clear, because we have problem. The biggest number of poor people are the Malays. Unemployment, mostly Malays again. Numbers, in terms of numbers. Victims of corruption, Malays, because they are easily corrupted. weak political voice, because now they are divided into four. Bad political leaders, and you know, their leaders, one of them has actually been convicted on 7 charges of criminal acts. Of course, he has appealed, but today he is still a member of parliament, still able to vote in parliament and all. This treatment, of course, is determined by the judges. We don't interfere with the judgment, but we feel that sometimes there seems to be discrimination or unequal treatment. A man who breaks the SOP or tak pakai mask apa semua may be fined and thrown into jail immediately, but you lose billions of dollars. You are free to go around, wear necktie and all that. So people see this, they think that yes, we are being fair, but is this fair? So these are problems about the weak political voice of the Malays. Then we have bad political leaders. I don't have to elaborate on that. You tahu lah macam Najib. And unfortunately today, Muhyiddin has adopted the same ways of Najib, in the sense of using money to buy people, to buy voters, to buy votes. In the recent slim election, kita tahu banyak mana duit telah diguna, very very cleverly done. Umpamanya mereka bawa van, nak kononnya nak tolong ferry the voters daripada rumah nak pergi ke tempat vote. Inside the van, money was given, and some of them, after they have put a cross against BN, they take a picture. You know, nowadays telephone, you can take a picture of your finger with the black mark, and then the mark of you are voting for BN. And if they showed this back to the BN people, they are actually paid the balance. First time they may be paid $100. Once they show they have supported BN, they get $150. This is told by us. There are pictures about all these things. It cannot be that all these people are telling us a lie. But you know, the result of this slim election is, to us, we expect to lose, but not by that much. But to think that people would vote for a party associated with a person who has been found guilty on 7 counts, saya tak boleh faham, saya tak boleh terima. I don't think you will accept that. Jangan malu. Apa nak malu? Bosku. This is the new philosophy. Yalah, dia curi duit, bukan curi duit kita. Dia curi duit orang. What they forget is that dia curi duit kerajaan. Hari ini kerajaan tak ada duit, kerana kita kena bayar hutang. The hutang that we have to pay runs into billions, which was borrowed by Najib. Bila kita bayar hutang, kita kurang duit. Lah ni, the people needs money. Ada orang yang tak boleh kerja langsung, no income at all, pasal susah nak berniaga sekarang ni. Jadi orang ini needs support. We ask the bank to have a moratorium and all that. Yes, the banks can do it, but the government needs to help. In most countries, governments allocate, in the case of America, $2 trillion allocated to help revive the economy. But here we say that they spend 230 billion, but it's not coming from the government. See, so the government now needs a lot of money, because what is happening now is that because the economic activities has practically stopped, people are not making money and therefore not paying tax. On the top of that, the government needs to spend more because people are now poor. Some are starving. You know, we need to help them, and we need money to help them. So because the money is used to pay the debts, that means that this is the people's money. Kalau dia kata ini bukan duit kita, dia curi bukan duit kita, duit kita. Kerana government taxes belongs to the people. We collect tax in order to govern the country. The governing the country means making life easy for the people, providing laws, protection for the people and all that. All of which costs money. Government punya servants is 1.6 million now. Yes, of course, they get their pay. But what about street hawker on the roadside? For months, they couldn't sell anything. They were actually starving. Fortunately, I must congratulate some philanthropists in Malaysia. Many of them are Chinese. They are prepared to give free gifts to people who are poor, you see, and they are helping. But the government must also help. But the government is glorifying in our management of COVID-19, but not helping people who are really in need. They cannot earn an income now. So these are problems that are faced by the government because of the shortage of funds, and those funds are for the people. So when people say, oh, it's not our money, dia curi tak apalah, bukan duit kita, but it is duit kita. Duit itu sepatutnya tolong orang yang memerlukan bantuan. So this idea that, oh tak apalah dia curi orang lain punya duit, dia bagi duit sikit kepada kita, that is bribery. So that is a problem mostly of the Malays. So these are some of the things. And then destroying moral values. I mean, to say that a man who is a thief can hate a government, I mean, it's ridiculous. We know he is a thief, he stole billions of dollars, kita tak apalah, apa nak malu, dia bos kita. I mean, they change the value system of, normally, even Malays and Chinese and Indian, we look upon a thief as a person who is wrong, who is bad. But now they are going to say that a thief is good because he stole for me. He is Robin Hood. Do we need Robin Hood here? For people to go around stealing money to give us money? If you like that, then okay, let's all steal money. And we give some to the poor, 90% masuk dalam poket, or 99% masuk dalam poket, 1% bagi kepada poor. Gunanya duit yang dicuri itu used for charity. We have lost billions. We are not getting back the billions. You know, the latest story that is in the in the media, alternative media, about this man, an American, who is being paid by Joe Low to try and persuade the American government not to investigate 1MDB. This is a story coming, it's not coming from us, it's coming from America. They did the investigation. You see, this man specializes in trying to lobby with the government to do certain things. Of course, one of the things he did was to lobby so that a Chinese man who criticized China and seek refuge in America, this man was lobbying so that this Chinese man who is seeking safety in America should be sent back to China. This kind of thing happens in America. You know, America is not such a morally high, morally unassailable place. There are lots of things they do yang bagi kita tak boleh terima. Setengah orang nak terima LGBT, yang tu dia punya hal lah, asalkan dia jangan buat atas jalan tak payah. The other one is that the Malays are economically backwards. We have to admit that. Yes, there are Syed Mukhtar, penaja and all that. Yeah, those people benefited from the new economic policy. And then many of the failures in business, many of the bankruptcies, bankrupt people, if we can have access to the information, I am sure, because the number of people who comes to me to ask me to help them about bankruptcy, many are Malay. I don't get. I think one Chinese who had some problem, but all the rest are Malay. And then we find that the Malaysian solutions are not effective with Malays. And then we find because they are poor, they're selling off their land. They will have nothing. You see, we see the disappearance of villages in KL, like Kampung Kerinci, like Abdul Hukum, Kampung Chala. All these, they have sold their land. You see, when they sell their land, they have nothing left. So because of that, we have decided that this will be a Malay party. Not against the Chinese or against the Indian, but because we have to concentrate on correcting the weaknesses of the Malays so that they can catch up with the other races. If they don't, if the disparity gets worse, there is bound to be tension. As you know, in 1969, there was tension because at that time there was no Syed Mukhtar, there was no Nazar, there was no nothing. And they thought, the Malays thought, they can go into town and burn houses and burn buildings, motor cars, because this belonged to the Chinese. But now, if you come to the town, you burn some of the houses. Many of the motor cars belong to the Malays. So they have not, since 1969 until now, there has been no that kind of rioting in this country. It is an achievement by the previous governments. So we want to ensure that that disparity is less. So for that reason, sebab itu kita tubuhkan Parti Melayu. Bukan nak lawan dengan orang lain dah. Nak tolong Melayu supaya dia boleh overcome dia punya weaknesses. Now, kita dah tubuh Parti Pejuang ni. Apa dia, objektif kita? Dan saya sebut tadi bahawa objektifnya sama dengan bersatu di waktu, bersatu di tubuh. Tapi kita dapati bahawa the scale is very big. In Sabah, for example, supporters of the government were enticed to leave the government with money. We are told they were given as much as $5 million each to leave the government. And 13 people left Warisan, the Warisan government. Not Warisan itself, but the Warisan government, 30. If there are 2 more of them leave, the Warisan government will fall. What does this mean? This means that a government elected by the people will fall to people who were not elected. The people who lost will not form the government. So that was what they wanted to do. But because of that, the Chief Minister of Sabah terpaksa bubarkan Dewan Undangan Negeri untuk mengadakan pilihan raya semula supaya rakyat sekali lagi dapat peluang untuk pilih kerajaan rakyat, bukan kerajaan orang yang main pintu belakang. Apa tu? Tubuh atap. You see? So we want to return to democracy, where the people choose the government. This is our the reason, objective of Pejuang. Kita nak lawan corruption. Corruption is terrible. Apa yang berlaku di Slim, apa yang berlaku di Sabah, showed that through corruption, whole governments elected by the people can be overthrown and be taken over by people who are crooks. Ini berlaku dengan di central government. Kami pada masa itu, kita ada dalam Pakatan Harapan, dipilih oleh rakyat, tetapi dengan cara lain, bukan cara pemilihan oleh rakyat, dengan cara pintu belakang. Mereka sudah rebut kuasa kerajaan. Jadi kerajaan yang ada sekarang ini bukan kerajaan yang dipilih oleh rakyat. Bermakna bahawa demokrasi doesn't work. Do you want that to happen? That is why Pejuang is dedicated to bringing back the power to choose government by the people. That is one of our perjuangan. We want to eliminate this cash is king, masih berlaku sekarang. Dan kita tahu bahawa kita suspect Najib masih ada duit banyak, lots of money. They have lots of money because the money has not been returned to the government. Mana ada duit tu? Katanya ada kat Jolo. Kita tak boleh nak tempuh Jolo. Tapi ada cerita orang itu ada bank account sana sini. One of the things that happened that give BN a lot of money, UMNO in particular, dapat duit banyak. Ada orang yang telah beli Media Prima. Pasal Media Prima itu was very badly run. So ada investor beli Media Prima. Dia beli Media Prima itu, it was very costly, 240 million. Jadi UMNO dapat, dia jual Media Prima, dia dapat 240 million. Banyak duit tu. And they can use that for election. We in Pejuang, we are not going to depend upon that kind of politics. Yeah, as a party, we need some money. But it must be money that is honestly given to the party, not into somebody's pocket. So that is something that we feel is very important. Kita tak nak melihat kerajaan pilihan rakyat di-hijack oleh mana-mana pihak. Seperti mana yang berlaku kepada Pakatan Harapan. And then there is abuse of power. Abuse of power, for example, opposition now tak boleh hidup. Tak boleh hidup. Guna kuasa kerajaan bagi member of parliament gets a certain allocation from the government. Tak bagi kepada orang yang tak sokong Najib, tak sokong Muhyiddin, tak dapat. So a member of parliament non supportive of Muhyiddin tak boleh ada duit nak tolong rakyat. Jadi dia guna duit itu untuk persuade people, you sokong kerajaan, kalau tidak you tak dapat duit. This is happening. You can verify this. This is happening. Dan ini salah guna kuasa kerajaan. Satu lagi, kerajaan mewujudkan peluang-peluang pekerjaan yang tidak ada dulu. Umpamanya kita ada 28 orang cabinet ministers. Sekarang ni ditambah sudah jadi 30 lebih. Dan total number of cabinet and deputy ministers and all that is 70 over. Jadi di create jobs for these people so as to give them more income, more money. It's a form of bribery. Kalau tak boleh itu, dapat jadi chairman of companies and all that. That is abuse of power. That is corruption. So we have to get away from this kind of thing. As you know, masa kita jadi kerajaan Pakatan Harapan, kita buang orang politik yang tidak ada pengetahuan daripada menjadi pengurusi dalam syarikat-syarikat kerajaan. 30 orang kita buang, kita ganti dengan ahli profesional yang bukan parti punya orang. Kita ganti dengan people who are conversant about the business. But the moment Muhyiddin became Prime Minister, dia buang 30 orang ini, diganti dengan ahli politik kerana nak bagi reward kepada supporters. That is abuse of power. So this kind of thing is destroying this country. Those who love this country must not support this kind of activity. Kita nak kena banyak lagi lah, kita nak kena restore a sense of shame in wrongdoing. Lah ni tak malu. Lah tak malu, kata oh dia curi, oh tak apalah dia curi. Dia Melayu, dia Islam. Orang Melayu, orang Islam pun bukan boleh curi. Tak ada dalam Quran dia sebut kata asalkan kamu Melayu dan Islam, bolehlah kamu curi. Ada tak? Siapa ada ni expert baca Quran? Tak ada. There's no such thing. It is a crime. Whether you are a Muslim or you are not Muslim, you steal money, it is a crime. And you should be ashamed of yourself. If your family is involved in a crime like that, kita kena merasa malu. Tapi sekarang ni perasaan malu tak ada dah. Dia boleh smile. Kena jail pun smile. Kena 12 tahun hukum, tak apa, okey. Walaupun 12 tahun hukum, tak kenalah 70 tahun, turun kepada 12 tahun. Lepas itu boleh jadi member of parliament and all that. Then the process of appeal will take another year. Jadi 3 years after that Najib's government was overthrown, Najib is still free, nothing is happening. And many of them have not, the court did not, the AG did not have time to probe into their wrongdoings. Banyak ada civil servant pun ada yang curi duit. Tapi they are not yet being charged because there are so many cases of crimes committed masa Najib ini sampai AG pun tak ada masa nak go through all this. There are at least 6 senior leaders from UMNO yang kita tahu telah curi duit. Kita dapati, kita hairan. Ada yang mempunyai wang sebanyak 3 bilion ringgit. 3 bilion. Ada satu family itu lah ni dispute over who inherits that 3 billion ringgit. Macam mana orang politik boleh ada 3 bilion? Kita tahu bahawa Kunan dia ada 1 bilion lebih dalam bank. Dia bayar income tax apa semua. Semua di statement. Macam mana ahli politik boleh dapat 1 bilion ringgit kalau tidak curi? Kita nakkah negara kita ini diperintah oleh pencuri yang kita tahu pencuri? Tapi saya hairan dan saya sedih bila saya tengok orang yang dikenali sebagai pencuri dapat sokongan daripada rakyat, boleh jadi wakil rakyat. Walaupun sokongan itu kali kerana sokongan wang. Sebab itulah kita dapati di Malaysia ini we have a lot of problems, not only with Malays, but the whole government machinery is really bad, not for this country. You know, this country has grown very well. Kalau kita compare the countries yang dapat independence about the same time in the 1940s, many colonies became independent, but most of them failed. Malaysia and probably Singapore also were the only 2 countries that has done well. But now it is back to square one. I hope that Malaysians will love this country now to try and see that this country is well governed by people who are not corrupt. Because of that, Pejuang, this new party, will ensure that its leaders at least are not involved in money politics, are not corrupt. We will not just choose anybody to become leaders of the party. Each leader will be subjected to interviews and to find out what is their feeling about what is happening in Malaysia. Kita belum ada full majlis tertinggi lagi. Kita akan pilih orang untuk jadi pemimpin Parti Pejuang ini. Tetapi mereka mesti yakinkan kita bahawa mereka bukan masuk parti kerana nak jadi calon, nak dapat jadi wakil rakyat, nak dapat jadi menteri. You want to join Pejuang sebabnya ialah kerana kita nak betulkan keadaan dalam negara kita. Nak hapuskan segala rasuah dan macam-macam salah guna kuasa yang terdapat dalam negara sekarang ini. Kalau nak masuk, saya nak masuk boleh jadi ketua bahagian. Esok kalau dah pilihan raya, saya lah betul jadi calon. Oleh itu jangan bagi orang lain masuk. Saya seorang je masuk. Seorang dia tak ada machinery of for election, kalah juga. This is what happened. Kita kalah di beberapa tempat. Kita kalah di Semenyih, kita kalah di Tanjung PI. Kerana kita tak ada jentera. Pasal orang yang kita pilih untuk jadi ketua bahagian, mereka itu pilih nak tentukan diri dia saja yang capable of being nominated as calon. Dengan itu tak bagi orang lain masuk. Jadi ini penyakit ini bermula dalam UMNO. Saya biasa cerita dalam UMNO apa yang jadi. Ketua bahagian tak bagi orang yang lebih pandai daripada dia masuk bahagian. Kerana dia nak jaga supaya dia saja jadi ketua bahagian, dia saja jadi calon. Bila dia mati, yang ganti dia tu mestilah orang yang lebih bodoh daripada dia. Dia orang bodoh ni jadi ketua bahagian. Lepas tu ketua bahagian ni pun buat macam tu juga. Orang yang pandai sikit daripada dia tak boleh. Pilih orang yang lagi bodoh daripada dia. Jadi dia mati, ni si bodoh ni naik. Lama-lama kita jadi negara pimpinan orang bodoh. That is what was happening, actually happening in UMNO. I know. I tried to warn them. A long time ago, I told them that in 20 years, you are going to see UMNO lose. And they lost. Lost not because UMNO was a bad party. UMNO was a good party. It was a party which won the fight against Malayan Union, the fight to get independence and to build up the country. Many countries, when they became independent from British or French colonialism, many of them failed. Some of them are fighting. You see, South Sudan, for example, when they were in Sudan, there was no fighting. They demanded to be free from Sudan, and Sudan gave this southern half to the people who demanded for independence, and then they fight each other. Sudan is one of the worst cases where 1 million people are starving. You see, becoming independent doesn't mean that we are going ruling yourself doesn't mean that it is going to be good. Wrong things can be done. But Malaysia was fortunate that we have people like Tunku Abdurrahman, Tun Razak, Hussein On. These people did not make money for themselves. I remember Ghazali Shafi when he died, when he was no longer minister. He was living in one of those ramshackle houses. Dia tak curi duit. Walaupun dia ambitious, tapi tak dengan cara curi duit. Tetapi sekarang ini kita dapati yang masuk politik ni masuk pasal boleh dapat duit, boleh dapat peluang berniaga, boleh dapat kontrak. These are the people who are now in politics. Not because of the country, not because of the nation, not even because of religion. They are in the party because they want to make money. That is why we find people sekarang ni ada duit banyak. Melalui politik boleh jadi billionaire. But this party has no place for such people. I know that this may mean that we don't have very many people to support us, to become members of the party. But we also think that generally the people of Malaysia want good government, good governance. And we want to ensure that we will force the practice of corruption and all that to be reduced, if possible, to nothing. That is Parti Pejuang sekarang. That is why kita tubuh parti ini. Bukan untuk nak pecah belah lagi, tetapi kerana parti-parti politik sekarang ini menyeleweng, jauh lari daripada perjuangan untuk negara, untuk bangsa, untuk agama. Mereka berjuang untuk duit. Ada orang Parti Bersatu yang dulu bersama dengan kita, sekarang ini ada dalam kerajaan, pegang jawatan sebagai menteri. Kita point out bahawa Bersatu akan hancur. Dan sekarang ini kita lihat Bersatu akan hancur, tak jadi Bersatu dah. Bukan Parti Melayu lah ni, dia parti multiracial. Kita kata dalam pilihan raya, UMNO akan bersanding kawasan Bersatu. Bersatu akan kalah. Pasal Bersatu tak dapat sokongan daripada Perikatan Nasional dan juga daripada Pakatan Harapan. Bersatu tak ada bantuan daripada mana-mana pihak, tetap akan kalah. Dia kata, kembalilah kepada perjuangan asal kita. Jawabnya dia jadi menteri, dapat dia banyak. Dia kata, you jadi menteri setakat sampai pilihan raya ke-15. Tak apa dah, dah 3 tahun ni. 3 tahun jadi menteri, cukup duit boleh balai banyak. Ada orang yang boleh himpun duit sebanyak 1 bilion. So the objective is not to improve our country, to build our country, to become a developed country. The objective is to make money for yourself. This is what has happened in Malaysian politics, particularly among certain people. So I hope that you can now understand why we have formed this party. Bukan niat kita nak pecah belah lagi. Niat kita ialah untuk betulkan balik politik di Malaysia. Okay, that's all. If you have any question, boleh tanya.
So, realistically, a political party requires a strong presence in Parliament and state assembly to actually be considered, whatever views to be considered seriously. So, from your view, what is the strategy? Are you going to contest all of the Bersatu seats, or will you also go up against UMNO? Or what's the plan?
Well, we are an independent party. We are not tied to this wing or that wing. We notice that sometimes a small party can play a big role. Like, for example, in 1964, I contested in Kedah Selatan. I won by 4,200 votes. But in 1969, I contested in the same area. I lost by 900 votes. Why? Because that is a Malay constituency. Because they have about 35,000 voters. 30,000 were Malays. And the people who competed there were Malays. PAS and UMNO, myself UMNO. But what we did was we split the Malays into two. But the non-Malay was able to pull out their support from me and give it to PAS and PASMA. Why did they pull out the support from me? Because they say I am anti them. I am anti-Chinese. That was the rumor. Because, you know, I had problem even with Singapore. Singapore, Kuan Yew used to call me the Malay Ultra. So this Malay Ultra, nobody wants. So I lost. So when we formed this party, we are not attached to anybody. We don't think any of the two coalitions will win. They will need more seats to win. If we can get just 30 seats, I think we would be in a position to join either party. But if we want to join, we must insist on certain conditions. If they accept our condition, then we will join. We already have at least about 18 members of parliament, basically in Sabah and Sarawak, not of our party, not of Pejuang, but friendly towards us and believing in the same principle. So we will work with them, and we hope that in the peninsula also there will be enough people to support us so that we can win. Perhaps 30 seats will be enough for us. Then we are not going to form the government by itself. We are going to be the determinant as to who should be the government.
Tuan Hasil Lukisan Malaysia, sepanjang Tuan punya visi itu membangkitkan tentang sentimen ekonomi, tangkit ekonomi daripada tempat ini dan sebagainya. Jadi adakah sentimen yang akan dimainkan pejuang adalah tentang isu ekonomi? Yang kedua, tadi Tuan ada bercakap kita nak menuju developed country. So soalan saya, sekiranya rakyat memilih pejuang, katakanlah pejuang nak berada dalam PH ataupun berada ke mana, bila sasaran target developed country itu yang
yang mana saya
nombor satu lah Tuan, tentang adakah pejuang akan memainkan sentimen ekonomi.
Kita nak main sentimen ekonomi, tapi kita juga sedar bukan semua orang yang faham berkenaan dengan national economy. Jadi kalau kita nak cakap dengan orang Felda umpamanya, kita nak cakap pasal the problem of Felda. Kalau kita nak cakap dengan urban people yang depend upon a stable economy to make money, then we talk to them about the economy. But generally, we will explain our stand on the economy.
Setakat ni, apakah status pendaftaran?
Tak banyak. Tapi most of our grassroots datang daripada what was known as a blackout bersatu. Blackout bersatu ini adalah orang ahli bersatu atau umbi yang tidak bersetuju dengan kepimpinan kerajaan sekarang ini. Mereka masih bersama dengan kami dan bilangan mereka besar. Sebab ini adalah grassroots. Grassroots ni ramai. Tapi mereka tak ada kepimpinan. Ada orang yang berbakat dan kita akan pilih kepimpinan melalui kalau boleh secara pemilihan.
Status pendaftaran.
Status pendaftaran waktu ini is just ongoing. All are done through online. Kita tak ada form apapun. Online orang boleh apply.
Berdasarkan PRK sendiri membarui, sejauh mana keyakinan itu untuk menarik sokong orang lain? Sebab pejuang dapat orang lain.
Ya, biasanya kalau kita contest dalam election sebagai bebas, you lose your deposit. Dan kawan yang seorang lagi itu bebas, dia lose deposit. But we managed to get more than 2,000. Tetapi kita punya kira-kira kita sepatutnya dapat 4,000 or 5,000. Kita tak dapat angka itu. Dan telah kita kaji dan kita dapati bahawa kegunaan wang sogokan amat berleluasa. Ramai orang yang kata ada bayaran yang mereka dapat. Ada yang dibawa dengan bas ke tempat pengundi, mereka dibayar duit atas bas. Ada yang dibayar duit atas van, supaya mereka ada tanda pula, boleh ambil gambar dia vote kepada siapa setelah dia jari dia hitam. Jadi semua ini menunjuk bahawa penipuan berlaku secara besar-besaran. Tetapi kita nak bagi cukup bukti kepada pilihan raya ini, suruhan pilihan raya. Nampak mereka kalau tak betul-betul terang-terang orang itu confess ke apa, mereka tak ambil berat.
Sekarang ni berapa ahli anggaran ahli yang dikatakan black bersatu, dan juga apa rancangan itu untuk PRN Sabah? Adakah sebagai menyokong pimpinan warisan ataupun sebagai untuk bebas saja?
Sabah.
PRN Sabah.
Ya, Sabah. Kita bersama dengan warisan. Warisan jadi kerajaan. Jadi kerajaan itu telah diserang apabila Hamzah Zainuddin pergi di sana dengan beg duit. 13 orang telah dibeli keluar daripada kerajaan. Tak ada sebab apapun, kerana duit saja. Jadi hampir jatuh. Jadi lah ni dia bubar kerajaan, dia akan ada pilihan raya. Sudah tentu kita akan sokong parti yang dahulu bersama dengan kita, warisan umpamanya, dan sesiapa yang sependapat dengan kita akan kita sokong.
Betul. Baru-baru ni ada keluar surat mengatakan Tun Minister LTTE dikeluarkan dari sekarang, dan boleh tunggu adakah surat itu benar atau surat itu?
Ya, dia bawalah surat macam tu. Bukan bermakna saya sokong LTTE. Saya tak sokong LTTE. Sudah tentu saya bukan kata Hamas itu teroris. Tetapi Hamas ditakdir sebagai teroris oleh Amerika, dan dunia cakap seperti Hamas ini teroris. Kalau dia teroris, mengapa saya jumpa dengan Hamas punya leader Ismail Haniyeh datang jumpa dengan saya, kita bincang tentang perjuangan. Dia kawan dengan saya, takkan saya nak bagi dia teroris. Teroris datang cakap dengan aku. Tak ada lah. Jadi itu saya nak tegangkan bahawa kita tak perlu cari masalah. Benda tak jadi masalah, kenapa kita nak cari masalah? Dan masalah itu berlaku kerana Sri Lanka, bukan kita. Tak payahlah kita nak ambil tindakan macam itu. Melainkan kalau dia ada buat benda-benda yang tak baik di Malaysia. Mungkin dia kutip duit, tapi zaman dulu pun dia kutip duit juga.
So, I just want to get your confirmation to going ahead. I mean, in the next election, since you said that Pejuang is neither PH or the ruling government, so is there a possibility that Pejuang will also contest in seats which have been contested by, let's say, Amanah and DPR as well in the election?
But that we have not come to that. Tapi pada masa itu kita boleh ada satu understanding supaya kita dapat kemenangan. Jadi tak guna kita lawan sesama kita, orang lain dapat kemenangan.
So, can we get your comments on your former youth chief Syed Sadiq's plans to potentially form a youth party? You mentioned that you don't think it's good to have too many parties. So what do you think? Is there a need for a youth party?
Yeah, I really don't know why he wants to form a new party. But you take away the youth, that's a substantial number. But I don't think it will be very successful, because although the youth is a big portion of the electorate. It's not enough for people just to win because they have the support of youth. In any constituency, there will be old people, there will be young people. We are going to appeal to young people as well. But of course, if he appeals only to young people, it's difficult for him to succeed. But I think we are a free country. He wants to do things on his own. He used to be a very strong supporter of Pakatan Harapan, but now he feels that he needs to break away from us. So we have good relation with him. We have no problem if the objective is to fight against corruption and things like that.
Tun, tanya sikit. Tun, adakah pejuang bersedia untuk menghadapi PRU 15 dan sekiranya belum didaftarkan lagi, adakah apa logo yang akan digunakan oleh calon?
Kita dah buat application untuk didaftar. Kita tahu bahawa kerajaan mempunyai kuasa untuk mendaftar ataupun tidak mendaftar. Di waktu pilihan raya ke-14, tak sampai seminggu sebelum pilihan raya, tiba-tiba Parti Bersatu tak dikeluarkan daripada pendaftaran dan Pakatan Harapan tidak boleh daftar. Tetapi kita mempunyai strategi tertentu. Kalau kita tak didaftar, kita akan cari jalan lain. Tetapi di masa yang sama, saya dan kawan-kawan semua akan dedah kepada seluruh dunia cara-cara kerajaan ini menang. Kita tahu banyak penipuan berlaku dalam pilihan raya, terutama di Belarusia. Ini ada penipuan. Kita nak samakan. Kalau kerajaan tak daftar kita, dia semacam dengan kerajaan di negara itu.
Previously, you did UMNO, and when you were heading UMNO, you had the same idea of advocating for the rights of Malays. And then you went on to Bersatu, and the same thing, advocating for the rights of Malays. And in both occasions, you said that you chose the wrong person to trust, and that's why things went wrong and all of that. How do you think Pejuang is in any way, with the same concept, same idea, same ideology, is going to be in any way different? How is it going to be successful?
Yeah, we are going to choose our leaders properly. People who are not in the party because they want to become ministers, but because they believe in the struggle of the party. We will move around. A lot of people have shown interest. We will explain to them why we formed the party. They must not think that by joining the party, they can become candidates for election, or they can get money, or they can get contracts. No way. You join the party because you believe in our struggle. So we hope that through that we will find good leaders.
There's no foolproof way to actually avoid that from happening, right? Like you would trust somebody and then they come into the party and then eventually they may not start to, like what happened in Bersatu. What's going to be different in terms of your strategy?
Yes. The important role of the leader is something that we have to take into account. If the leader tells people, don't be corrupt, and then he receives $1 million, nobody is going to believe him. So our leaders must show that we are not corrupt. And I hope through that people will have faith in us. We will make sure that our leaders will not be corrupt. The moment we discover any sign of corruption, out he goes.
Also, there's a lot of frustration on the ground, given that, you know how you said Malaysian people choose the leader of the country. They all did that. They chose, they love the country, they chose the opposition, and they helped you all win the election. And then ultimately, due to internal power struggle, there was all of this transpired. So how do you think you're going to win back the sentiments of the people after what has happened?
We can't give a foolproof formula for that, but we will try our best to keep our party clean. Our people must be clean. We will explain as much as I have explained to the press today, we will explain to every individual who joins our party.
Tun,
Will you be going to, will you or any of the Pejuang leaders be going to Sabah to campaign for warisan candidates?
Some of us will be going.
Tun, masa lepas ketika konvensyen Perikatan Nasional setengah abad, setengah tahun, seorang profesor ada menyatakan bahawa penubuhan pejuang ini sebenarnya hanyalah untuk memberi laluan mudah kepada Datuk Seri Muklis menjadi Perdana Menteri. So, mungkin
25 tahun
Ya.
lama.
Saya nak explain. Masa saya jadi Perdana Menteri, saya tak bagi anak saya masuk parti pun. Tak boleh terlibat dengan politik, tak boleh berniaga dalam Malaysia. Sekarang saya tak jadi Perdana Menteri. Saya nak kata, nak jaga nama baik saya, you janganlah masuk politik. Itu saya fikir tak adil lah. Anak saya pun manusia juga. Rakyat negara kita ini, kalau dia nak buat, dia buatlah. Kalau dia nak masuk, saya takkan nak kata, sampai saya mati baru boleh. Susahlah sikit. Saya dah 95, tak berapa lama lagi pergilah. Tapi nanti lama-lama sangat, PRU 15 dah akan okey dan tak ada nak masuk parti mana. Banyak orang, Karpal Singh, anak dia, Kit Siang pun anak dia. Tun Razak pun anak dia. Awak you tak komplain pasal tu.
Do you think warisan has, what is warisan chances in Sabah to win a strong mandate?
Well, I don't know how much money is going to be used by BN. So nowadays, election becomes very dicey because of this corruption. But if there is no corruption, if people reject those 13 people who left, then warisan will win. Okay? Thank you.